All right, one thing I want to talk about today is I want to talk about the 5-year rule, right? There's 3 5-year rules that matter a lot when it comes to you as a federal employee, right? And then we've been getting, with a lot of the risks going on, a lot of the buyouts and everything like that, we've been having a lot of conversations, right? And so, and like unlike in years past, you can plan for retirement. And you had time to like diligently plan. We take people through our TSP finish line process that I always mention. But now, people, are having to retire at the blink of an eye, right? No real planning, no real runway, right? And so there are a couple of things that, we haven't seen pop up in a while because we've never had this type of wave of people retiring, right? So this 5-year rule, these 3 5-year rules, I want to bring up to you so that, when you're retiring, you're not shocked, right? And so the first one is with FEHB, your federal employee health benefits, right? With your federal employee health benefits, you have to have it for 5 continuous years before you retire in order to take it into retirement. Really important, right? Now, this doesn't come up for you, if you've been working 20 years and just had the FEHB the whole time. It's not a big deal, right? It's for a select few people. But I want to make sure that, if you're one of those people, you understand. So I was talking to a lady the other day. She was on her husband's private health insurance plan. They got divorced 2 years ago. So she's been FEHB for 2 years, and now she's getting ready to retire, right? So there's complications there because she hasn't had it for 5 years, right? And so this is something I want you just to be aware of, right? Or you might have started in the government 2 years ago and now you're getting ripped, right? Those things you want to understand so you're not shocked when you realize you got to go out and get your own health benefits, right? Super important. And those are the two cases. Those are the two kind of scenarios that you kind of see that in. But again, I just want you to be prepared. Number 2 is with the FEGLI, right? With the FEGLI, that's the Federal Employee Group Life Insurance. That life insurance policy is a group term life, right? And it's mainly for when you're a federal employee. It starts off cheap. We talked about this many times. It starts off cheap, especially option B. But then as you get older, every 5 years, it goes up in cost, right? But again, what are we talking about with the 5-year rule? Again, you must have that in place for 5 years consecutively before you retire. We don't see a lot of this coming up for people. But if you're the type of person who, and they haven't had an open season in a while either, but, if you're a person started late in the government and you only had the FEGLI for 3 years, that could be problematic for you, right? Or let me think of another scenario. Or if mainly if you start in the government late. That's the only really way that FEGLI can hit you. The thing I want to mention to you about FEGLI though is if you have the basic coverage and you're only paying $20-$30 a pay period for it, just know that when it is time to retire, that basic coverage, if you do no reduction, it's going to cost a lot more. You're talking $300-$400 a month just to keep the basic. Now, if you do the no reduction, and we talked about that before, that stays the same in price, but then at 65 begins to reduce down to just 25% of your salary, right? So just keep that in mind. I don't want to go deep into FEGLI today, but that 5-year rule also applies to FEGLI. Another 5-year rule that's probably the most beneficial or has the most use cases for you listening, is the 5-year rule when it comes to the Roth TSP. We always try to tell people to start up their Roth as soon as possible, right? And the reason why is because you have to have your money in the Roth. You have to have the account open for 5 years consecutively. Well, 5 years, right? In order to reap the tax-free benefits of a Roth account, right? So you want to make sure. So if you have your Roth TSP and you started it this year, you're not able to take the tax-free withdrawals from it until another 4 years, right? If you started this year, you have to have it open for 5 years. So the longer you have that Roth account open, the better, right? So you want to make sure you open that Roth account sooner than later, right? And also if you're a person that's, you're retiring, RIF, things like that, just know that you cannot go right into that Roth account and start withdrawing money tax-free, right? So those are the 5-year rules when it comes to your federal benefits. Again, it's the FERS, the FEHB, which is the Federal Employee Health Benefits, the FEGLI, the FEGLI, the Federal Employee Group Life, and then you have the Roth TSP, right? And that Roth TSP rule also applies to any Roth IRA that you have, right? And so if you need our support, again, go to fedlegacycall.com. We're here to support you, and our goal is to make sure you retire on time and with confidence.